is up, YouTube? I'm your host, Chip Gamin. Yes, Gamin, you heard right. As in, I'm always gamin. Cause when it comes to gamin, I'm as hardcore as it gets. Please don't make fun of me, I got enough of that in high school. You may have mastered your insults, but not only have I mastered the art of gaming, but also the blade. Do not mess with me. That's a mistake you don't want to make, and it's one you can only make once. That was your first and last warning. I live on the edge. The wolf is a fierce and noble animal. It also happens to be my spirit animal, and it gives me the courage I need to conquer all the world's video games, sometimes as far as the halfway point. How else am I supposed to conduct a professional review? I'm the real deal, folks. I am gaming incarnate, master of all controllers, including the Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller. And yes, ladies, I'm single, but only by choice. There's a lot of video games out there to play, and I can't have a woman holding me back. Hardcore gamers like me meditate and train around the clock to hone our precision and mental stamina. Precisely the tools I need to bring you a professional review. My reviews are very professional because they have motion graphics. Some of the templates were very expensive. Like all hardcore Resident Evil fans, I was introduced to the franchise through the movies. It's hard to believe that a movie franchise with so many sequels has managed to maintain such a high quality. Every movie is jam-packed with badass action scenes and showcases the defining example of a strong female lead character. Someone with no weaknesses and who kicks ass in every scene she's in. One of my favorite aspects of the franchise is the decision in one of the films to introduce the African shantytown executioner mini-boss character from one of the video games into its urban setting. This is great because it encourages multiculturalism. I later came to learn that Capcom has developed a series of video games based off of the movies, the latest installment of which is Resident Evil 2.
Claire! Claire, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm alright. How about you?
I can't stay here. It's not safe.
Oh, shit. Go on ahead! I'll meet you at the station!
It's the long-awaited sequel to the original game, Resident Evil 2 on the GameCube, which is also a sequel to Resident Evil 2 on the Nintendo 64. However, Resident Evil 2 isn't the only sequel to Resident Evil 2. There's also Resident Evil 1 on the GameCube, the first Resident Evil game ever made, followed later by the director's cut version on the PlayStation Mini. Unfortunately, every game developed for the PlayStation Mini has terrible graphics that render them literally unplayable. Pun intended. Let's start by analyzing the most crucial aspect of any video game, and that's politics, okay? If there's one thing video games needs more of, it's politics. It's literally the lifeblood of gaming, and it's certainly not something Resident Evil 2 shies away from. But there's good politics and bad politics. The difference is simple. Good politics is whatever the majority of people thinks is good. And unfortunately, there's no shortage of bad politics here. For a particularly egregious first example, the only playable characters are both white. Really, Capcom? Personally, I was extremely disappointed not to be able to play as a nude version of Claire's character model in the game's console versions. Not because I endorse objectification of the female body, obviously, rather that I would consider the inclusion of a nude model a celebration of the female form and therefore empowering to women. As would any sane individual. Look at this objectification. This literally just appeals to like the male fantasy. This really is the scariest game ever. Look at this. More objectification. Did Michael Bay direct this? This is what's known as the male gaze, people.
You alright?
Oh, and of course she needs to be rescued by a man.
I need some sleep.
Literally, the first death in the game is of a female zombie, at the hands of a white male no less. Sexist much? Let's painfully study something of particular gravity, and that's the diversity and representative equality of the zombie hordes in terms of race, gender, and physicality. I haven't counted, but if the numbers of minority, white, male, and female zombies aren't exactly the same throughout the game, then Capcom has taken a serious misstep and really needs to pull their heads out of their asses. Great, of course the black guy dies at the beginning. Rest in peace, my friend. The game has you shoot a plus-sized zombie pretty early on, which is objectively fat-shaming.
Oh my god!
It's also worth mentioning that killing zombies can be considered racist, if you think about it. And I inflect my voice upwards as I'm talking right now, so you should probably listen to me and believe the same things that I do. Aren't zombies a race? And the game has you shooting all of them to death mercilessly. I'm so not sexist or racist that I almost refuse to play this game, but I decided I had a responsibility to play it as a highly legitimate gaming journalist. I also found the game much more tolerable to play when I imagined that all the zombies were straight white males.
I'll ask you one more time. Hold your fire! What the fuck were you thinking? Our orders were to bring him in alive!
He's a white guy, what's the problem? Predictably, Claire's storyline has you chasing after and caring for a young girl named Sherry, which enforces stereotypical gender roles. Why is it always women that have to care for children? Capcom missed a grand opportunity here to have a playable woman who hates children and wants to shoot all of them in the face. That would be much more progressive. Instead, alongside being sexist and racist, Capcom insists on simultaneously being the double whammy of transphobic and Islamophobic by having you shoot and kill a character in physical transition named William Burka. I kid you not. Better add animal cruelty to the list.
Something tells me he's not a cop.
Wasn't that Dick Tracy? Jeez Louise. Even assisted mode is hard. I shouldn't have to use this infinite ammo pistol. I'm not even sure they did quality assurance for this game, like literally. But I think this does it for enemies for a while. There needs to be a part where absolutely nothing happens. That's good pacing. I used all my health items, and I'm only barely getting by with regenerating health. What does that tell you about the game design? Jesus fucking Christ. We're good now, though. He's way too big to get through. This is bullshit. As if the game wasn't already racist enough, Capcom gives one of the game's most significant antagonists the name of Malcolm X, famously portrayed in film by John Boyega. Invincible enemies? Seriously? Why even have weapons? Looking for an anti-Semitic experience as well? No problem. Capcom's got you covered. About a third of the way through the game, you'll be introduced to its multicultural straight arrow secret agent character, Adolf Wong. As previously mentioned, at the start of the game, you have the option of selecting one of two playable white characters. One of them is Claire.
Whoa, don't shoot!
Get down!
The other is Resident Evil 2, a veteran cop who's seen it all. Leon's a pretty good looking guy. Look at Claire's wet boobs there. That's really empowering to women. That chopper pilot's pretty hot too.
Just when you think it can't get any worse.
One major gripe I have with the character is that for a veteran, Resident Evil 2 looks too fresh-faced and innocent. Nobody understands Japanese culture as well as I do, and Resident Evil 2 just looks far too kawaii. He should have a much more stylized head of hair like in the best animes. The game would also benefit tremendously from having a lead character who's modeled after somebody who's instantly recognizable, like Chris Hemsworth. But one of the things the game does right is that it really makes you feel like Resident Evil 2, like you're walking around in his shoes.
Jesus Christ!
A surprise party at the Resident Evil Police Department in celebration of his retirement is unfortunately halted by the threat of the zombie hordes. Play as Resident Evil 2 long enough and you'll be rewarded during a few particular cutscenes with a few unhealthy doses of toxic masculinity and rape culture. In one of them, Resident Evil 2 violently grabs Adolf's arm, which clearly triggers Adolf. In another, Resident Evil 2 takes advantage of the fact that Adolf is immobilized by a wound by inappropriately touching her thigh. Another introduces a gun store owner who seals himself in a room with his daughter, where it can only be assumed that he's molesting her.
Just go. Just give us some privacy.
The game then continues in its transphobia and throws its anti-nature agenda into the mix by having you shoot people to death who are guilty of nothing more than transitioning into plants. And if anybody deserves to be killed in their entirety without mercy, it's human beings. Frankly, the only conclusion I'm left to draw from this game is that Capcom is literally run by Hitler. Now that the most important aspect of gaming has been discussed, let's move on to the next most important thing. Graphics. If you're wondering if this game has graphics, rest assured that it does. Resident Evil 2 features extremely high-resolution cheeseburgers. The game really makes you feel like a cheeseburger. Politics and graphics aside for just a moment, something that's somewhat worth mentioning in a video game review is gameplay, but I'm gonna try my best to be brief with it.
Stay back, ma'am. I got this.
The gas station boss is by far one of the hardest bosses I've ever fought in a video game, and I commend anybody who can get the key in the back room the boss is guarding and make it out alive. When you finally reach the Resident Evil Police Department, you'll be presented with some incredibly misleading game design, including a sign reading "Keep Out" taped onto a shutter door partially obstructing the only path forward. I don't get it. Man, they used heavy-duty tape on this thing. Oh my god, seriously? How am I supposed to shoot the zombies now? One of the gameplay's most egregious flaws is the fact that there's simply not enough bullets throughout the campaign. There were parts in my partial playthrough where I literally had no ammo. Gaming is about having plenty of ammo and more to kill everything on the screen and constantly moving forward without any obstacles. I'm doing literally exactly what it says on the screen. Who reads this stuff? What am I, rolling a Jamaican fatty here? The game's condoning drug use now? Does this game ever get scary? What the hell kinda safe is this? Who would use this? Doesn't even have anything cool in it. And the game doesn't let you discard useless items. This game is so broken, I literally can't even. Why does this take so long? I put his arm on. What the hell? I literally solved the puzzle and nothing happened. As soon as you see one of these brain guys, there's only one thing to do, and that's shoot them. Or run away as fast as you possibly can. Seriously, I don't know how the hell I'm supposed to beat this on hardcore, never mind normal mode. Literally impossible. Please don't let there be any more brain guys. Okay, good. I was seriously getting pissed off. Okay, I think I definitely killed all the brain guys now. God damn it. I should probably save. I think there's a typewriter at the check-in desk. Shit. No! Go away! I hate these guys! Fuck off, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off! Great, now I'm screwed. What, he won't come in here? Why is the AI so bad? They literally forgot to put 1 and 2 on the keypad. Who does that? What do I put in? Guess I'll just try everything. Man, if nothing happens by the time I get to 100, I'm done. Well, that was time well spent. Shit! Like Cinderella. Fits like a glove. Might be faster to go down the other way. No thanks. Why would a kid have this? It's literally impossible for an adult to solve it. And I'm a fully grown adult man. All that for a pair of preschool scissors? And it's to cut this thing off the wall? The cardboard a kid could literally just yank off.
That's gotta be the orphanage.
Wow, no shit. That's just a ripoff of Aliens, the James Cameron movie. Okay, I've literally searched everywhere for this safe code. I've checked all my notes. Pretty sure I have them all. Apparently, there's this one locked safe in the game there's no way of getting into. Resident Evil 2 is so challenging, I almost quit playing entirely early on until I realized there was an assisted mode available, which is ideal for hardcore gamers like me who are accustomed to regenerating health and enemies that take little effort to take down, which are both essential to an enjoyable gaming experience and should be default in every video game. The only downside is that this makes the game surprisingly boring and difficult to stay awake throughout. Despite that, the game should be easy to play since it's intended and appropriate for children.
Just get me the fuck out of here!
I bought the game for my son-in-law. I look after him while my wife and his father hang out. They're just friends. They usually spend their time together in a motel. I can only assume they're playing video games. Players will encounter a massive difficulty curve on the first encounter with Malcolm X, who's literally impossible to avoid. From what I've heard, locations like the gun shop Kendo are discovered at different parts in the game compared to the original Resident Evil 2 for the PlayStation Mini, when they should be found in exactly the same places. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this a remake or not? Capcom needs to make up their mind.
Sherry, you come with me now, or say goodbye to Claire.
Something of note is how the game's characters not only appear, but behave with incredible realism, which successfully maintains the integrity of its horror atmosphere.
Stop hurting her, please!
Don't tell me how to do my job.
Ah, sick! Look at her eye. She looks disgusting now. No wonder her mom doesn't want her. Who could love that? Gross. I don't know what Claire sees in her. Am I not supposed to relate to the main character? Oh, my goo! My goo!
Take care of yourself, Leon.
No!
I found myself caring about the characters, which is a major problem. As I've said, video games are about killing everything on the screen and constantly moving forward like in Call of Duty, not empathizing with the people on screen, which only serves to get in the way of shooting them until they're dead. Looking back on the experience post-game,
Loot boxes and more microtransactions would have been a more than welcome addition in order to increase replayability. But the game's biggest problem is that it doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it a survival game or a horror game? Survival and horror are like oil and water, they just don't mix. You know, this game's got a lot of problems, but the story isn't bad. Every character has a goal, and there's a lot of obstacles between them and their goals.
Huh. That was easy.
Wow, really? Just another day at the explosion factory. This is where they make every explosion in the world. Alright, pal. I'm ready. Let's do this! Yeah! Wow, I didn't think that would actually work. Sweet. It's about time I got a break. There's too many goddamn enemies. And the game's not scary enough. Holy fucking shit! That wasn't that scary.
It's still alive?
The game is also far too scary. And why is it scary? Because of the degree to which it's racist, sexist, misogynist, transphobic, and Islamophobic, and encourages toxic masculinity and rape culture. I give this game a 0 out of 10. Well done for trying, Capcom, but I'm disappointed to say that Resident Evil 2 is a major misfire. Hello? Speaking. This is Capcom calling? You want to pay me how much? I'm very happy to award this game a perfect score of 10 out of 10, which I only give to games that have literally no flaws whatsoever. You did good, Capcom. You did real good.
Don't forget to smash those like and subscribe buttons. Gaming criticism is in dire need of way more genuine voices like mine. Until next time.